performance this week. His former White House aide, Omarosa Manigault Newman, says she's ready and waiting to spill more tea against her old boss, claiming that the Trump White House is holding on to boxes of her White House emails that she thinks congressional committees would probably like to see. I'll let her explain more. Joining me now, Omarosa Manigault Newman, a former senior White House official under President Trump. Omarosa, why do you think that the emails that you say they're holding boxes of that are yours would be of such interest to congressional investigators and congressional committees?
Well, first of all, Rep, thank you so much for having me on. I think it's important to realize that very on in the administration, we got letters directing us to preserve all information related to the Mueller investigation. All investigations, any information, any emails, any correspondence, we had a clear directive to preserve those documents, preserve emails, preserve text messages. And so I thought it was very interesting that after my discussion with General Kelly in the Situation Room, when I went to take my things, I was instructed that I had to leave 7 boxes of documents that came from the campaign, the inauguration, the transition, and they would not allow me to get them. You know, the good thing is that, you know, the Trump administration isn't that bright. They sent me tons and tons of emails about these boxes saying, we still have them, we'll decide when to give them back to you. But as of now, Rev, I have not received anything from those boxes, and now they're refusing to hand them over.
No, so you don't know if these boxes were handed over to Mueller now, but they could be looked at and viewed by congressional committees, and you feel there may be something in them? Is that what you're saying that would be of interest to them as they look through this?
If they did hand them over to Mueller, they would have had to be in touch with my attorney, John Phillips or J. Wendell Gordon, because, of course, I had correspondence and had to sit down for interviews with the Mueller team. And so they would have had to let my legal team know that. What's very curious to me is that, as I stated, it was 7 boxes of documents, and in my emails, they only reference 2, which leads me to believe that they've destroyed the other 5. So, you know, it's par for the course with this administration. I believe I'm not the only one who's been subjected to this type of treatment, and I believe that there are more documents that have been destroyed by this administration. If it happened to me, it's happened to others.
Let me be clear, because I want to make sure I understand you. You say there were 7 boxes, but they only referred to 2. So are you suggesting that maybe they destroyed 5 boxes of email that could have been evidence?
Oh, there's no question. In fact, when I spoke with White House ethics attorney Stefan Passatino, he said to me that they had a right to go through the emails and decide what they could keep and what they could disregard and throw away and discard. And again, all of that is in email. So we'll have to see. I got correspondence from the Justice Department after having my interview and disclosing those things. So we'll have to see what unfolds. But I'm sure that I'm just not a one-off. I believe that this is a pattern with this administration of being disrespectful to congressional requests, of trying to use intimidation and all types of tactics to keep people silent. But as you can see, I won't be silent, nor will I keep secret the things that I have been subjected to and others have shared that they've been subjected to as well.
Do you think that the correspondence and emails that you had, and some of which you're suggesting may have been destroyed and maybe others have gone through the same thing, do any of these really talk about things that could match other witnesses that talked about obstruction or that may have been a material benefit to the investigation and could be to the congressional committees?
I think that's an excellent question, Rev. My portion of the Mueller report on page 17 is redacted. There's only a couple of lines from what I shared, and the rest of it is redacted. So the answer to that is I'm not sure. It says under the redaction that it's a part of a continued investigation. So who knows? It could certainly be related to ongoing investigations, but I'm not sure because of the redactions.
Let me ask you this. You are a senior advisor in the White House. You certainly played a key role in the campaign. Is it possible for anyone to have worked in any shape or form with the Russians or anyone else and President Donald Trump or candidate Donald Trump not be aware of it and not have signed off on it? Is it possible, given the way and nature that he conducted both his campaign and the early days of the White House when you were senior advisor?
Well, it's not possible, particularly how we had things set up. The campaign was very small. There was a small group of people until we expanded towards the end. But you'll even recall when Trump wanted to talk with you, he picked up the phone, he called me, I call you directly. I mean, he was very, very involved. Nothing in that campaign happened without him having be aware of it or be engaged in it, directing it, or just saying yes or no to it. So when he says he had no information about what was happening, I find that very difficult to believe, Rev.
And he was very hands-on. He called me directly. I wouldn't meet with him. He sent you. So I know personally that he was very hands-on himself. So it'd be hard for me to believe if he would call me or send you that he wouldn't know what was going on with people from Russia.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, he was in the trenches and he wanted to know everything that was happening, from meetings in the field with state directors or with regional victory offices. He was involved with the data. I was on the plane when Jared and Brad were talking about some of the information that would impact our key battleground states, and they were discussing that directly with the candidate. This is, of course, things that I shared when I spoke with the Mueller team. And so, I find it hard to believe what's coming out of his mouth. His denials actually carry no weight with me because we all know otherwise.
You are prepared to go before Congress if they call you and testify, and are you prepared to tell them that there were 7 boxes, not 2, and that they ought to find out where the other 5 were and question others to make sure they're getting all the information they need?
Well, absolutely. But I think this discussion about executive privilege, if he's going to stop Don McGahn from going to speak to Congress, he may try to do the same to other senior members of his team, such as myself, from speaking and sharing information that we know that would impact this investigation. And so I'm watching very closely what he does with Don McGahn, if in fact he prevents McGahn from sharing the information that he knows or just reiterating the stuff that he shared that we saw in the Mueller report. So it's all going to be determined as to whether or not Donald Trump actually evokes executive privilege.
Wow. Well, thank you, Omarosa Manigault Newman, for being with us.